Hi, I'm Joanne Humber from LTC4, and today I'm talking to John Graves. John is a training support specialist based in Dallas in the US, and he's very well respected and experienced member of the IT training community within legal. And we've talked before, and we've just found that actually was 4 years ago, and things have changed just a little since then. Um, we've just been talking, and I'm going to share with you the discussion that we've been having about whether or not it's still important to assess competence. We deliver training in multiple different ways these days. We obviously have different technologies that we can use, and a lot of remote working and those sorts of things have changed matters. Is it still important to assess that those skills have actually been transferred? And do clients assume that their lawyers are competent, or are we having to prove it now? What do you think, John?
Oh, I think we definitely have to prove it. I hear daily about client audits coming in where they're asking the questions, and they're not easy questions. They're hard questions about what qualifies the lawyers, what are they doing for this, or a good example is what compliance training are we teaching them? Are they getting HIPAA compliance? Are they getting harassment training? What are we talking about as far as knowledge of the industry? How are we testing them? Are we actually finding out? You mentioned how important it is to assess the competency. I think another way we can say that is, are they getting the message?
Yeah.
When we're spending an hour or two in a training class trying to teach them, are they actually getting the message that we're giving? Are they retaining it? Or were they checked out on their mobile device and heard about every third or fourth word, and they walk away from the class no richer than what they were in knowledge?
Yeah.
And I think a competency assessment goes a long way to proving that.
So obviously, from a point of view of LTC4, I know that your firm has embraced it thoroughly
Yes.
in terms of being able to assess to an industry standard, and I know that you believe in it as well. Good to see that a lot of the bar associations are now including technological competence in their CLE requirements, and I think we have that happening a bit in the UK and Europe. To the appropriate level, I'm not sure. What do you think? Do you think they're asking enough?
I think they didn't start early enough. I think
Yeah.
the moment that technology started coming into the law firm, that should have become a requirement, because about the only requirement they have is make sure that you type your papers. So they use Word, or some of them even use Google Docs to do it.
Yeah.
I think it's important that there be some sort of a baseline so that they understand that when one attorney starts a project, they're using the same technology as the other attorney. They know how to use it. They know how to produce a quality document, and a document that is going to stand the test of time. One of the things that I've always said is law, or the practice of law, is based on precedent.
Yeah.
We are always hearing about some judge who has rendered a ruling or a verdict based on a law 50 years ago or 70 years ago. But what if those documents had not been done to a standard? What if they were just haphazardly thrown together? Would they still be around today for us to base common law on that? So I think we need some standards in the industry to make sure we're producing the quality that our clients and that the judicial system requires of us.
Yeah, sure. And do you think lawyers are able to adapt quickly enough to the new developments that are coming along in terms of artificial intelligence, which is obviously going to be a major player in legal, certainly in the production of legal documents, even with the best security and systems in place, it's going to be in use. Do you think lawyers are resilient to those sorts of changes?
I know they're resilient. You can't get through law school without being resilient. It's a very difficult class. I know my daughter is looking at going to law school, and just to look at the class schedule is scary. So I know they're resilient. I don't know that they are able to adapt very quickly because they still have to practice. I don't know of a single firm that says, oh, you can take 6 weeks off to learn this topic.
Yeah.
They're lucky if they get an hour off at a time,
Mm,
and then they have to go right back to working on something else, and they may not use the technology that you just taught them for 6 weeks.
mm.
I think that they're resilient to retain what they need at the time.
Yeah.
I think as soon as an attorney begins to use something like artificial intelligence to produce documents, that's the time to hit them with the class because they're going to be using it.
Yeah.
And as with anything that is in a just-in-time pattern, either use it or lose it.
Yeah.
If you learn something and you don't use it for 6 weeks, you didn't learn it.
Mm,
You never used it. There was no reinforcement. So I think it's important to look back at what are their requirements going to be. A good example of that, if a law firm has passed a policy, we will not be using AI in our firm, why do you need to be taught to be teaching them AI?
mm.
They don't need it. And so they're not going to learn it. And even if
No.
they learned it for the 5 minutes after the class, it's not useful. I
No.
think technology has the onus to deliver topics that are timely and necessary for
Yeah.
the attorneys. But are they resilient enough to learn it? Sure they are. They're
Yeah.
very intelligent people. I've never met a dumb lawyer in my life.
No, exactly.
They're all
Yeah.
very intelligent people. They just have their minds focused on their practice areas.
Mm.
So we have to be careful that when we're teaching them technology, that we're teaching them something that is within the scope of what they're going to
Yeah.
be doing.
It's got to be relevant, hasn't it? I mean, that is very much
Definitely.
from an LTC force perspective. All the learning plans have been developed by people who are in law firms, and they're all
Yes.
based on workflow, not features and functions, not what button you click on or any of those things. It's all about the skills you need to do the job. And I think that's
And
still
yes,
important, isn't it?
I agree. I agree. It's very important. And what you mentioned earlier, my firm has embraced LTC4. One of the reasons why we have is because it's workflow based. It makes sense to our users,
Mm,
and it almost makes it easy to get through the program because you have a scenario,
yeah.
you watch a skill, which means you're watching someone else to do it.
Mm,
You get a chance to try it, which is great,
yeah.
and then you go prove your knowledge through a knowledge check. And
Mm,
and I love the fact that it is a process based
mm,
and not an application based.
yeah.
Now, there's some level of application basis. Working with legal documents is just one of the competencies. It deals with Word and Acrobat.
Yeah.
Okay, I got that. But what are you doing with it? Why are you using Acrobat? Well, because you're trying to process the Word document. So the way that it's presented is here's the information you need to know to process a document in Word, and then we go into how do you get it out in a PDF format.
Yeah.
It's process based, and it makes
Mm,
a lot more sense to people.
yeah. I think that's a critical thing. And I think that's really why we're continuing to develop it. As you know, we're talking about an AI competency in the future, and we're talking about the way people are working and continuing to improve the way that those learning plans fit with modern day, the way that modern lawyers work. Anyway,
Yeah,
very nice to talk, John. Thanks so much for your time today.
absolutely.